In a small wooden house just outside Kyoto, an 86-year-old woman begins her day the same way she has for over 4 decades. Not with coffee, not with vitamins, but with a quiet cup of something warm, white, and slightly sweet. A drink called Amazake. She stirs it slowly on the stove before the sun rises, while the world is still hushed. No rush, no measuring, just rhythm. As the steam curls into the morning light, she smiles. Not because it tastes amazing, but because it feels right. It warms the stomach, she says, and calms the heart. This isn't a health trend. It's not a detox or a diet. It's a ritual. And in Japan, this simple act, this gentle sip before breakfast, has quietly supported elders for generations. They don't talk about gut health or inflammation. They don't count grams or calories. They just live and let their bodies remember. You see, while most of the world starts the day trying to jumpstart energy, caffeine, sugar, supplements, Japan begins with something ancient, something fermented, something alive. And what if, just what if, the secret to aging without chronic pain wasn't in doing more, but in doing one small, kind thing every morning? In the next few minutes, let's step into this forgotten rhythm to discover how fermented rice, quietly and without fuss, has helped thousands age with grace, energy, and peace, one quiet cup at a time. Long before science named them probiotics, long before supermarkets stocked kefir and kombucha, the Japanese were already fermenting life into every meal. Centuries ago, without refrigeration, they discovered something extraordinary. If you let rice breathe, if you give it warmth, darkness, and time, it transforms, it bubbles, it sweetens, it begins to live again. Not as raw grain, but as something new, gentler, richer, deeply nourishing. They didn't call it bioactive or gut-friendly. They called it Amazake, and to them it wasn't medicine, it was rhythm. In the Edo period, families would gather once a season to begin the ferment. Wooden barrels lined the back of the house. Children would peek in to watch the rice bloom into something milky and warm. No timers, no thermometers, just patience. Fermentation wasn't science. It was trust. Trust in nature. Trust in slowness. Trust that transformation doesn't need control. It just needs care. And while the rest of the world moved toward factories and faster food, Japan held on to this art like a whispered secret. Not out of resistance, but because it worked. Even today, in modern kitchens with stainless steel appliances, some elders still stir their amazake by hand, not for nostalgia, not for health fads, but because their grandmother did, and because their body still thanks them. What started in a wooden barrel became something far more lasting, a quiet inheritance passed not through genetics, but through taste, memory, and time. So when you sip that cup of fermented rice, you're not just feeding your gut. You're joining a ritual that has survived plagues, wars, and every health trend imaginable, because it never had to shout to be heard. In today's wellness world, health often comes in bottles. Multivitamins, probiotics, omega-3s, each one promising more energy, less inflammation, better digestion. And yet, in Japan, many elders over 80 still begin their day with nothing more than a warm sip of fermented rice. No labels, no prescriptions, just amazake. So what makes this humble drink so trusted? It begins with what's inside. Enzymes, amino acids, and living cultures created naturally during the fermentation process. Modern research from Kyoto University discovered that Amazake contains a strain of beneficial bacteria called Lactobacillus sakei, the same strain found in the gut of healthy seniors with low inflammation levels. Another study from Hokkaido showed that the enzymes in fermented rice improved glucose metabolism in adults over 60, reducing fatigue, improving energy after meals, and easing joint stiffness. But here's the beauty. None of this needs to be measured. Japanese elders don't talk about enzymes. They talk about how they feel. They say it wakes the stomach gently, that it makes the body feel light, that their skin softens, digestion flows, and the usual bloat that once felt normal quietly fades. No side effects, no overwhelm, just balance, restored from the inside out. And perhaps that's why they never replaced it with pills. Because Amazake doesn't demand effort, it invites ease. For many elders, it's not about adding more to fix the body. It's about feeding the body something it already understands, something simple, something alive. And in a world full of products shouting for attention, this quiet cup continues to do what it always has: heal without making a sound. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that aging is a problem to solve, a decline to delay, a weakness to hide. So we try harder. Stronger medications, stricter diets, more rules, more pressure. We treat healing like a battle. But in Japan, it's different, especially after 60. There, aging isn't feared, it's respected. It's not something to conquer, but something to accompany, gently, patiently, day by day. Japanese elders don't speak of fighting inflammation or boosting immunity. They speak of listening, of waking the body slowly, of feeding it foods that remember how to heal. They don't ask, "What should I add?" They ask, "What can I simplify?" And perhaps that's why a quiet drink like Amazake still holds its place in modern life, because it doesn't try to fix everything at once. It doesn't overwhelm the body. It whispers to it, "Take your time. I'm here." I once read about a retired teacher from San Diego, age 68, who visited Okinawa. She was struggling with joint pain, insomnia, and that constant sense of fatigue so many accept as normal. She didn't go looking for a miracle. She just wanted to feel like herself again. A local woman offered her Amazake every morning for a week. No instructions, no promise, just a warm cup and a smile. By day 4, the teacher said she started sleeping deeper. Her digestion felt calmer. The stiffness in her knees softened just a little. But more than that, she felt met, not pushed, not pressured, just supported, quietly. "That's the difference," she told me later. "Western medicine made me feel broken. This made me feel whole." There's an old Japanese saying, "Feed the belly first, the heart will follow." In the West, we often separate things. Digestion is one department, emotions another. But in Japan, the body is one quiet ecosystem. A harmony of small rhythms that ripple into everything else. And it all begins in the gut. Inside your belly live trillions of tiny organisms, bacteria, yeasts, enzymes, a community that doesn't just digest your food. They communicate with your brain, with your immune system, even with your emotions. When this inner world is nourished, everything feels lighter, fewer aches, better sleep, a clearer mind. But when it's inflamed, out of balance, fatigue sets in, anxiety creeps up. The body whispers, then shouts. That's why in Japan, fermented foods are not optional, they're essential. A spoon of miso in warm broth, a piece of pickled plum with rice, a cup of Amazake before the day begins, not because someone told them to, but because they feel the difference. They feel calmer, more centered, more awake. Not with adrenaline, but with steadiness. Elders describe it in simple terms. It makes my body smile. It brings warmth to my middle. It helps me breathe deeper. And maybe that's what real healing is. Not just the absence of symptoms, but the quiet return of harmony. Because when the gut is balanced, the body doesn't need to shout. It can rest. And when the body rests, so does the mind. You don't have to move to Japan to live like this. You don't need a wooden house in Kyoto or a grandmother's recipe book. You just need a spoon and a little curiosity. Because the beauty of fermented rituals is how small they are. Small enough to fit into your morning, your kitchen, your rhythm. Here's how you can begin. Start with 1 teaspoon of miso paste in a cup of warm, not boiling, water. Sip it slowly before breakfast. No need for fancy broth or seaweed. Just the paste and the warmth. Next, find Amazake. Most Asian grocery stores carry it, or you can find it online. Look for rice koji or no added sugar. Pour a small cup, heat it gently, and drink it like you would tea. One quiet moment. No rush. Or try a spoonful of pickled vegetables made with shio koji, a traditional Japanese fermenting salt. Add it to rice or just eat it as is before your meal. It awakens digestion and softens bloating. That's it. No counting, no measuring, no complicated schedule. Just one new habit. Tiny, alive, and kind. The secret isn't in perfection. It's in repetition. Not because someone told you to, but because your body will notice. It will remember. Over time, these gentle acts become more than routine. They become your anchor. A way to greet the morning not with noise, but with nourishment. And if you miss a day, no guilt. This isn't about control. It's about coming back, again and again, until it becomes part of you. Because real change doesn't arrive with force. It arrives with quiet consistency. I don't measure. I just sip. That's what an 86-year-old woman in Kyoto told a researcher when asked about her health routine. She didn't know the word probiotic. She didn't track her digestion or inflammation, but she drank Amazake every morning, the same way she brushed her teeth, not as a treatment, as a rhythm. Because by a certain age, we begin to understand. Our bodies remember what we repeat. Not the crash diets, not the miracle products, but the small, steady things. The warm cup in the morning, the deep breath before a meal, the choice to be gentle instead of aggressive. In Japan, elders don't rely on motivation. They rely on memory, muscle memory, emotional memory, cellular memory, habits that feel like home. And so Amazake isn't just a drink, it's a signal to the body. You are safe. To the mind, you are cared for. To the heart, you can slow down now. That's why they don't need reminders or alarms. Their bodies want the ritual. Because over years of quiet repetition, it has become part of them. There's something deeply human about that, about letting the body lead, not just the brain, about trusting sensations more than statistics. It reminds us that healing doesn't always come from effort. Sometimes it comes from kindness, from showing up again and again until the body sighs in recognition and says, I remember this. In a world that celebrates speed, the Japanese elders remind us of something quietly radical, that real longevity doesn't grow from urgency. It grows from rhythm, not from perfect plans, but from imperfect consistency, not from control, but from trust. And not from doing more, but from doing one small thing again and again until the body no longer needs to be told. Because it simply remembers. In Japan, the oldest among them don't talk about health. They talk about warmth, about balance, about the stillness before breakfast, the comfort of a familiar bowl, the peace of knowing that your body is being gently supported from within. Fermented foods are not a trend there. They are a quiet act of respect for life, for time, and for the body that carries you through both. And maybe that's the real miracle, not a cure, not a breakthrough, but a return to listening, to slowing down, to letting nature work, not through force, but through cooperation. So if you've been chasing energy or peace or clarity, what if you stopped chasing? What if you just began? With one warm cup, one teaspoon, one small act of nourishment. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do something, gently, daily, faithfully, because healing doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And if you're quiet enough, you'll hear it say, "You're already enough. Just keep going."